Hi, good morning. So we're currently talking about the budget in Jamaica, the 2025-2026 budget. We have heard from the finance minister who doesn't seem to understand what she's talking about. And we've heard from the opposition spokesperson who spoke quite eloquently and listed out some nice ideas, many of which are drawn from the UIC and repackaged to come from them. And both parties have done that. They've both, been scavenging from the UIC and using it to the best of their abilities. But I want to point out to you a core problem in all of this. Each and every year that they do a budget presentation, especially at election time, and they give you all kind of goodies, they're going to adjust the tax threshold, they're going to give a flat rate for water, they're going to reduce taxes for SMEs, they're going to do all sorts of things. The bottom line is, all of this, all of these grand ideas, whether they come from the UIC or any of the two colonial parties, all of these grand announcements and ideas will amount to nothing if we don't fix Jamaica's core problem. And what is our core problem? Our core problem is a system of corruption. Every year we lose about $100 billion due to systemic corruption. That means we could be fully funding every child for basic school and primary school, ensuring they have proper nutrition, the best teachers, good healthcare services for these little ones. And as a result of that, when they leave basic school, they would be primed and fit for the work of primary school. And when they leave primary school, they'd be ready for high school. And when they leave high school, they would be sharp as a knife, eloquent, competent, numeric, literate, computer savvy, ethical, moral, decent, ready to take on tertiary level studies. And when they finish with post-secondary education, be it in a tertiary institution, university or college, or through a trades program, they would be among the most productive in the world. And as a result of that, our GDP would expand from about 25 billion US dollars to where Singapore is right now, which is more than 500 billion US dollars. So you see, the problem we have is that the system of governance in place allows politicians to read budgets every year, but are not held accountable for those budgets. And those budgets don't come with performance metrics. So as a result of that, we just go from budget presentation to budget presentation, from theatrics to theatrics, from gimmicks to gimmicks. But nobody ever have to come back to you and tell you, how did we do last budget? The monies we tell you we're going to spend last year, did we spend them and did we get value for that money? So the $1.26 trillion they're going to spend this fiscal year, what will it do for Jamaicans? Yes, some people will focus on the narrow elements like, the finance minister says over 3 years we're going to increase the income tax threshold to $2 billion. And so for that you'll be able to save over $2,000 every month to put down towards a pro box. That's the kind of things, the games that they play. Now, here's the fact. That 200,000, or rather $2 million over 3 years, they increase the $2 million over 3 years, or the 2,000 plus you're going to be able to save in taxes. That is wiped out instantly by inflation over each of those years. Instantly gone. So you're right back where you began, or worse. Because when you compound inflation with the devaluation of the Jamaican dollar, your purchasing power, which is your ability to buy the things you were able to buy last year, would have declined. So if you could have buy £2 of flour last year, this year you might only be able to buy £1.5. You see what I'm saying here? So the children will end up probably eating more junk food because you can't buy a full basket of grocery with healthy food in it to feed your children. You have to skim, and so you end up buying cheaper food which is low in quality and low in price, and you feed that to your child, which diminishes their brain capacity, makes them irritable at school, increases autism and all kind of other problems. Yeah, instead of eating good callaloo and good Jamaican yam, you're eating all kind of foolishness. And the long and short of it is, all this budget thing will mean nothing. So you go through the numbers. $949.5 billion in tax revenues, of which $139 billion is non-tax revenues, $4.9 billion in capital revenues, $5.96 billion in grants. That's an interesting one. Where that money come from? Who giving you a grant, and what are they giving you the grant for? What, to promote certain unhealthy lifestyles, to oppress certain segment of our society, to destroy our local industry in favor of something else? What is the grant for? Which people is voting in their country to send our government $5.96 billion to spend on us? Think about it. And then there's $812 million in bauxite levy. That's all we're getting for the irreparable damage that is being done to our soil, to our water, to our air, and to our agricultural lands. I hope you understand what's going on here. We are being duped. Now, the PNP has a serious credibility problem. Both parties have roughly about the same amount of time that they have led Jamaica. 40 years for the JLP and 40 years for the PNP. But the PNP is the only one that has ever gotten 18 and a half years straight. So, put it in context. Remember, Michael Manley won the 72 election. And then he won the 76 election, roughly 4 years in office. And then he lost the 80 election. And then Mr. Seaga won the 80 election after some 800 Jamaicans were murdered because they tricked us into hating each other. That's the PSOJ oligarchs approach, and the colonial masters taught them well. Divide the nation into two tribes to fight each other to the death sometimes. And so they used partisan politics to turn us against each other. So in 1980, we murdered over 800 of ourselves. And then in the 1983 snap election, the PNP didn't contest, and Mr. Seaga won uncontested. So he is the first and only Prime Minister to have had both houses to himself, the Senate and the legislative branch, the MP side. Yeah. What did he do with that? Nothing more than facilitate corruption, massive corruption. They got lots of loans and grants and stuff from the US because they did the US bidding, and Mr. Reagan rewarded him handsomely. So what did he do with all of that money? Corruption. And during that period when Jamaica could have exploded under Mr. Seaga, if he had used his super absolute majority to transform Jamaica, we could have been the next Singapore. But he failed, just like Manley failed before him, and like Buster and Norman failed before them. And after him came P.J. Patterson, the longest serving Prime Minister. And what did he do with all of that time? When he finished, he made sure that a former Prime Minister will get the same salary as a sitting Prime Minister. P.J. Patterson single-handedly led us into FinSAC and destroyed thousands of Jamaicans' lives. The same thing is being